This is Jeff Yu from the Division of General Internal Medicine at Western University in London, Ontario, Canada. In this video, we will discuss how to archive and obtain feedback on your ultrasound studies in the Department of Medicine at London Health Sciences Centre. To quickly review the ultrasound systems available in the Department of Medicine, our institution currently uses many Sonosite machines. We first have the older Sonosite S series, with the most frequently used machine located at the Victoria Hospital D17 room for many inpatient medicine applications. While this machine is older with less features, it's still quite capable of producing adequate images for procedures and basic point-of-care ultrasound. Moving on, there are several laptop-style machines such as the M-Turbo on 6 inpatient at University Hospital and Edge 2 on 4 inpatient. These devices carry more advanced features, have a convenient keypad, and are considered the workhorses for many medicine services. Finally, if you work in the emergency department, you might notice the Mindray TE7, which is becoming more popular and will be coming soon to medicine inpatient ward. It comes with an intuitive touchscreen interface. So why do we need to archive our ultrasound studies? Firstly, it is our medical legal responsibility to be documenting images whenever we use ultrasound for procedural or diagnostic purposes. If the images are not archived, then there is no medical legal proof that ultrasound was actually used. Secondly, archiving studies and sending them for feedback is an integral component of training and building competency. As with learning anything new, there must be a feedback mechanism to allow for continued development and refinement of skills. Lastly, for our internal medicine residents, archiving and obtaining feedback on ultrasound studies throughout their 3 years of training is a requirement. Once a study is reported and sent to a consultant for overread and feedback, then that study becomes a part of the trainee's ultrasound portfolio to demonstrate ultrasound competency. For any novice to bedside ultrasound, it certainly carries a steep learning curve, so do not be daunted by the prospect of images becoming a part of a patient's medical record. All submitted studies are overread by a consultant. There's a clear understanding that many archived studies may be for training purposes only. So what images need to be archived? It's completely patient and study dependent. As a minimal recommendation, any thoracentesis, paracentesis, or central venous access ultrasound should at least have a clip demonstrating the chosen site for safe needle entry. For lung ultrasound, there should be clips of at least 3 or 4 zones on each hemithorax, which is discussed in the lung ultrasound tutorials. For cardiac studies, including IVC views, these are out of scope for core internal medicine training. However, the interested and keen learner is encouraged to move toward cardiac views if there is competence in procedural and lung ultrasound. During the clinical encounter with the patient, we always start by logging onto the machine. Then we archive appropriate video clips of the ultrasound in real time, which become stored on the machine. At the same time, these clips and images are automatically transferred through the wireless network to our online archival system called Qpath. We want to eventually log out of the machine, wipe it clean, and plug it back to where we found it. At the end of the day, or when there is free time, we will then report on the study and submit it. The first step requires logging onto Qpath from any internet browser or mobile device. Next, we will fill out an interpretation report using pre-designed worksheets. Then the most important step is to submit the study for QA feedback. When we archive a study during a clinical encounter, it's always stored on Qpath, but if we do not submit it for QA feedback, then it's assumed it is just a practice study and it does not become a part of our portfolio. Usually one of the point-of-care ultrasound consultants, such as myself, will provide written feedback within 24 to 72 hours. Let's now get into some of the details of what to do during the clinical encounter. As mentioned, the first step is logging into the ultrasound machine, and it requires pushing some buttons. We will begin with the example of the Sonosite S series, such as the machine found at Victoria Hospital D7 inpatient. First, you want to press the patient button located on the left side of the menu. This will then bring up the login screen. If the boxes are not blank, then the previous user has forgotten to log out, so we can end the previous encounter and start a new one by pressing New/End at the bottom menu. Note, all the images archived by the previous user would have been stored already on the machine in Qpath. On this screen, there are only 2 boxes we need to fill. The first is the box labeled ID, which corresponds to the patient's PIN. On Qpath, the patient's name automatically gets populated based on the PIN. Next, we need to fill out the box labeled Referring Doctor. When you create an ultrasound study, think of it as if you are the doctor referring these images to be overread by somebody else. Also remember, you are putting in your LHSC or PowerChart username. After the required information is filled in, press Done at the bottom right corner of the screen. Note that for the S series, there is only an on-screen keypad that must be navigated awkwardly with the trackpad. Give the machine a few seconds to log in wirelessly, and it will return to the live image screen. We can confirm we have logged in by seeing the patient pin at the top of the screen. We're now ready to scan. With the Sonosite M-Turbo or Edge systems, which are frequently encountered at the university hospital inpatient wards, we simply press either the A or B button, which are pre-programmed shortcut keys that go to the patient screen and start a new encounter. You then use the physical keypad to enter the patient ID and referring doctor name. I will touch briefly on the Mindray TE7 since you might encounter this machine in the emergency department, though our current workhorses on medicine wards are Sonosite devices. You tap the patient menu on the touchscreen. As with the Sonosite machines, you need to enter the patient ID, but instead of referring doctor, you want to put your PowerChart ID under operator. Now that we are ready to scan, our next step is to archive our images. Once an appropriate image is obtained, press the clip button and the machine will record a 4 to 6 second video clip of whatever is being displayed on the screen. On the S series, clip is located on the left side of the menu, and on the Edge and Edge 2, there is a physical clip button. Please also make an important distinction between clip and save. It's intuitively tempting to be pressing save when archiving images, but this button will only archive a still image. Make sure to use clip for most purposes. On the Mindray, intuitively there are buttons named Save Image and Save Clip. At last, once all the necessary images are retained in the study, we must log out of the system. We simply repeat some of the same button presses as logging in. For the S series, enter the patient menu and press New/End. On the Edge 2, press the A or B shortcut keys again. On the Mindray TE7, it's once again more intuitive with a button called End. After we complete the scans, we must report on our study and submit it for feedback and review on Qpath. To access Qpath, direct your browser to lhsc.qpath.cloud. Some hospital computers may already have a shortcut to Qpath on the desktop. Enter your LHSC or PowerChart username and password. Please note that if you attempt to use Qpath on a hospital computer, avoid using the thin client devices as shown on the left. While they should still work with Qpath, the performance may not be sufficient. Try to use full tower computers instead. Upon login, you will by default be greeted with the All Exams page that displays every ultrasound study across LHSC. When you log in for the first time, it may take up to 30 seconds before the screen populates, so be patient. If you look across the top row, there are columns for the study date, patient PIN, that subsequently auto-populates the name column, exam type, operator, or the so-called referring doctor during image acquisition, and institution indicating the department where the scan was performed. Select your study and click Open Up at the top. On the left is now the image review pane that includes a basic image editor. On the right is the reporting worksheet. Fill in the ultrasound findings, and there are free text boxes available for any additional findings. It is very important to provide pertinent medical history and an overall assessment and management plan because you as a clinician at the bedside are both the ultrasound operator and the clinical correlate. Once complete, click on the Submit for QA button up at the top and select an appropriate reviewer such as myself. Once the review has finished, you will then receive notification by email and you can read the feedback provided either through your email or logging back onto the Qpath study. Finally, you can customize Qpath in many ways. Here are 2 tips to help you with the workflow. First, you can filter the exam views. For example, if you want to see only studies performed by yourself, then click on the 3 dots on the operator column, select Filter, choose your own name, and click Filter. Then click on the Pin button on the top right corner and you will have a shortcut to this filter view on your home screen. You can also customize a home screen to automatically open this or any other filter view upon login. Secondly, you may sometimes need to change the studies department. For example, if you perform a study in the emergency room, then automatically your study is assigned as the emergency department. Each department at LHSC, such as emergency medicine, internal medicine, and critical care, has its own customized reporting worksheets. In order to use medicine worksheets for your study, you must then manually change the study department. To do so, click on your study and then click Edit on the top. The Edit pane pops up on the right. Scroll down, click on Department, and change to UWDOM. Save your changes, open your study again, and the worksheet will be changed accordingly. As a side note, this Edit pane also allows you to change many other things such as the operator, patient PIN, etc. Thank you. As always, feel free to email, page, or call me whenever you have any questions about ultrasound or want to review a scan together.